receive from friends and family members and just beginner lifters who are new to my blog is, where do I start? Okay, I want to start working out, I want to embark on a training regimen, and where do I begin? And I've never really addressed this on my blog, so I wanted to film a video and discuss this question because it's really, really important. So rarely do I just say go find a personal trainer, because I don't know if that trainer is experienced, and if you've been to a lot of commercial gyms, a lot of personal trainers, they don't really know what they're doing. They'll start people off right away, on the Smith machine, or they'll just put a barbell on someone's back and they're not ready for load. You really need to master body weight before you add external loading, and you need to be performing the movements correctly, with proper range of motion and proper movement and stability at some places and mobility at other places. So in this video I'm going to go over what I feel are the three most important lower body movements that you need to master right off the bat. Now once you master these, then you add load. But take a couple weeks, take 2, 3, 4 weeks if you need to, and just practice these movements over and over. Get it to where they're down pat, to where they feel automatic, and then start adding load. But it's really, really critical that you do this because this provides the foundation. Your form is the base, it's the foundation of everything, and you build upon that. If you start right off the bat and learn the wrong way, you're setting yourself up for problems down the road. So these three movements are the box squat, the RDL, and the glute bridge. And the RDL stands for Romanian deadlift. You could also call it a hip hinge. So I'm going to show you the box squat, the hip hinge, and the glute bridge pattern. And I'm going to teach you good form, and I'm going to show you how people typically screw them up. Okay, so first movement, box squat. You are going to find a chair or a small table or a stool or something, or a couch, whatever, but just something to where, and you might need to have it higher, some people can have it lower, but the basic premise is this is going to help teach you how to sit back. Most people, if I just say squat, they'll go like this, and they shift forward, they bend at the knees, and they do this because they don't have good posture, chain strength. When you've got strong hips, you use them. You sit back, and you absorb the load with your hips. But the hips get weak over time. People lose strength in their hips, and so they resort to quad dominant strategies. That's why most people use their quads too much, and they don't use their hips enough, and that sets you up for problems. So this is why the box squat is so useful. It teaches you how to sit back. Now, here are the things you need to know about the box squat. You're going to take a wide stance. You can turn the feet out. Most people prefer around a 30-degree flare. But some people still like to keep the feet straight, and that's okay. Some people flare more. That's okay too. I prefer around a 30-degree flare. Okay, I'm going to put my arms in the mummy position, and I'm going to sit back. These shorts are tight, so I'm going to sit back, come up. Okay, this is how the movement looks. Now let me break it down for you. If you notice, my tibia, this bone right here, stays pretty vertical. Meaning, if you drew a line, it would go straight up through the ceiling. My knees will stay out. They track over my toes. Alright, I sit back, I don't plop, I keep my chest up, I lean in, and as I come up, I squeeze the glutes forward, and I stay with the weight on my heels. So the common errors with this, you will find that most people will want to bend forward too much at the knees. Their knees will track very far forward. They won't keep this vertical tibia. They won't be able to sit back. And so you'll say sit back and they'll go like this. And they'll stay pretty upright because they're trying to use their quads. They're not trying to use their hips. The other thing people do is you'll see they'll come up onto their toes. And that's again a strategy to use more quad. And probably the most common thing is their knees will cave in. And especially women, because women are trying to be ladies, they want to sit like a lady. You don't ever see women sit down like this. They sit down like this, and try and cover up. And this leads to faulty movement patterns over time. This is called valgus collapse. It can lead to knee problems over time. So, let me do this from the side view. Wide stance, I'm putting weights on my heels, okay? I sit back, I keep my knees out, okay? I come up, squeeze the glutes. This is what it looks like, just like this. And that's got to become automatic over time. It takes time, you know? You might not be able, at first you might only be able to go to here, you know? And then over time you can start sitting back more and more. Eventually you'll get to where you can sit back all the way. You know, you'll feel kind of a stretch and you'll feel the load in the hips. Come up, squeeze the glutes. But you don't want to plop like this. A lot of times you'll see people come back and they'll go. You don't want to plop. Sit down comfortably and come up. Alright, so that's the box squat. Once you get good at this exercise, now you can just put a dumbbell right underneath your chin and load it up, just like this. But that's after you've gotten good with body weight. Now you can add load, but don't add load until you've mastered the body weight pattern. Okay, now let me go over the RDL or the hip hinge. This is an easy movement in terms of strength. It doesn't require a lot of strength, but it requires motor control. You need to know where to move and where not to move. So, if you watch the way most people pick something up off the ground, they'll kind of go like this and pick it up. And that's a very economical way to pick something off the ground. You're going to use a combination of hip flexion, lumbar and thoracic spine flexion, and pick something off the ground. But in weightlifting, we don't want to move that way. We want to teach our body to stabilize the spine and the movement to occur around the hips. So with the RDL pattern, start out with your hands on the front of your thighs. Okay? Don't set up like a squat with a wide stance. Get a narrow stance with your feet straight ahead. Okay? Hands on the front of the thighs. And I am just going to sit back. Imagine someone has a rope around your waist and they're pulling back. They pull back on that rope. You sit back and notice my head stays in line. I'm not going like this and hyperextending my neck. So, this is what the RDL pattern looks like. Alright, let me break this down. So, a lot of beginners, they will round, they will move the knees forward too much, they will try and squat. It's not a squat, the hips stay high. Or they will keep the legs straight and just go like this. This is why you put the hands on the thighs, because if you had a barbell or a dumbbell, it would skim your body. So the knees stay soft, meaning they're not straight like this, and they will bend, but you're limiting how much forward knee displacement you have here. So again, weight is on the heels, okay? I keep my head in neutral. Someone has a rope around my hips and they're pulling back, so I sit back, the knees bend, but I'm sitting back while my hands just skim down my legs. Okay, I get a big stretch in my hamstrings. I reverse, now I can't go any deeper, because if I went deeper I would lose this arch in my back. I would have to go like this. So this is as deep as I can go, and now I reverse the movement and I come up and now I squeeze my glutes. I don't stop here. I push those hips forward with my glutes. So that's the hip hinge pattern. Once you get proficient with body weight, once this feels natural for you, now you can hold on to dumbbells and do the same thing, or a barbell. But master that pattern first. Alright, and now the third movement is the glute bridge. Now the glute bridge, this looks like a simple movement just like the others. I'm just going to squeeze my glutes, raise my hips into the air. The problem is most people do this movement incorrectly. Most people, you poke their glutes and they're not turning on that much. Most people, you'll feel their hamstrings and their low back, and you feel the tension coming from their hammies and their low back. You need to feel the hammies and the low back muscles, you'll feel them, but they won't be turned on maximally. The glutes should be turned on maximally. And so what you'll find is, a lot of beginners, they will come up like this, and you'll look and they're arching this way. Kind of their chest comes up and if you were to feel their lumbar spine, it arches this way. They hyperextend their lumbar spine. You don't want that. You want this core staying stable the whole time. The core remains stable, the glutes push the hips up. Okay, and over time, like my glutes right now are rock solid. So you want to feel the glutes pushing the hips upwards, just like that. And once you get good at this movement, now you can put a dumbbell in your lap, just like this. Okay, but make sure you do it right. Make sure you lay down the proper foundation, learn how to do these movements properly with body weight, and then slowly start adding load over time. You've got all the time in the world to get strong and add weight. And you know, if you've been following this blog for a while, you know that I've got, you know, females using 315 pounds for hip thrusts, and you know, girls deadlifting 275 pounds, and girls doing box squats with 135 pounds. But they all started off mastering their body weight first. And so lay the proper foundation and then go from there.